The first thing I notice when I open my eyes is the rhythmic beeping. Not the faces hovering above me, not the antiseptic smell, but that maddening electronic pulse that seems to echo inside my skull. Everything else filters in slowly, like coffee dripping through paper, the fluorescent lights, the scratch of starched sheets. The dull ache spreading across my body. Taylor? Can you hear me, sweetheart? The woman's voice trembles with concern. I know I should recognize her, but my mind feels like a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. Her gray-streaked hair frames a face lined with worry. Mother. The word surfaces, but the emotional connection feels frayed. What happened? My voice comes out as a rasp. You had an accident, says a man standing beside her, my father, I realize with relief. At least that recognition comes easily. You fell down the stairs at home. Home. The word triggers nothing but static in my mind. The doctors say you might experience some confusion, another voice cuts in. Smooth, controlled, practiced. A man in his early 30s steps into view, his perfectly pressed shirt at odds with the institutional setting. I'm Ryan. Your husband. The word husband sits wrong in my chest, like a stone I can't swallow. I study his face, handsome in a conventional way, with kind eyes that don't quite match his tight smile. Nothing clicks. I don't. I start to say, but stop when I see the flash of something dark cross his features. It's gone so quickly, I might have imagined it. It's okay, darling, he says, reaching for my hand. His fingers are cool and dry. The doctor said temporary memory loss is normal with this type of injury. An older woman appears behind him, her silver hair swept into an immaculate updo. You gave us quite a scare, dear. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. I'm Carol, Ryan's mother. We're all just so relieved. My own mother steps closer, her hand finding my shoulder. Maybe we should let Taylor rest. The doctor said not to overwhelm her. Of course, Ryan agrees smoothly, but his fingers tighten around mine for a moment before letting go. I'll be back first thing tomorrow, sweetheart. I watch them file out, Ryan and Carol first, then my parents, my mother lingering in the doorway until a nurse gently shoos her away. The quiet settles around me like dust, broken only by that persistent beeping. I close my eyes, trying to sort through the fragments in my mind. I remember my childhood home, my college years, my job at the marketing firm. But Ryan? Our supposed life together? It's all blank space and static. My phone sits on the bedside table. With shaking fingers, I reach for it, relieved when it unlocks with my thumbprint. The wallpaper shows me and Ryan at what must be our wedding, me in white, him in a tailored suit, both of us smiling. But something about my expression in the photo seems off, strained around the edges. I open my photos, scrolling through countless images of a life I don't remember living. Dinner parties, vacation shots, holiday gatherings. In every single one, Ryan's arm is around me, his smile perfect, his pose calculated. And in every single one, there's something in my eyes that looks like fear. A text notification pops up, rest well, darling. Everything will be back to normal soon. Ryan. Normal. The word sends an inexplicable chill down my spine. Because even though I can't remember what normal was, something deep in my gut is screaming that I don't want to go back to it. 3 days into my hospital stay, I've learned to fake sleep whenever I hear Ryan's measured footsteps approaching. It's become a survival instinct, like a prey animal playing dead. Through barely open eyes, I watch him and Carol enter my room, their whispered conversation carrying clearly in the quiet space. She's still not remembering anything substantial, Ryan says, his voice tight with frustration. The doctors say it could take weeks. Carol's perfectly manicured nails tap against her designer handbag. We can't afford weeks, Ryan. The board meeting is in 10 days. We need her signature on those documents. I know, Mother. Then handle it. She's your wife. Keep her in line like we discussed. My pulse quickens, but I force my breathing to stay steady. Through my lashes, I see Ryan's hand clench into a fist before relaxing. What if she never remembers? Then perhaps this accident was a blessing in disguise. Carol's voice turns thoughtful. A fresh start. We can reshape her memories. Make sure she remembers things our way. A nurse appears in the doorway, and their conversation cuts off abruptly. I wait until their footsteps fade before opening my eyes fully, my heart hammering against my ribs. Later that afternoon, my mother brings fresh clothes and a concerned frown. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Mom, I keep my voice low. What kind of documents would Ryan need me to sign? She stills, something flickering across her face. What do you mean? I overheard him talking with Carol. Something about a board meeting and needing my signature. She sits on the edge of my bed, her hands twisting in her lap. Taylor, there's something you should know. Before your accident, you came to me. You were worried about some papers Ryan wanted you to sign. Something about transferring your inheritance into a joint investment account. The inheritance. A fragment of memory surfaces, my grandmother's final gift, meant to secure my independence. How much? Just over $2 million. My fingers dig into the hospital blanket. Did I sign anything? No. You were supposed to meet with the lawyers the day after. She trails off, glancing at the door. The day after your accident. The implications hit me like a physical blow. I think about the wedding photo on my phone, my strained smile, the fear in my eyes. Mom, I don't think I fell down those stairs. She reaches for my hand, her grip fierce. Neither do I, baby. Neither do I. A knock at the door makes us both jump. It's Ryan, carrying a bouquet of roses that probably cost more than most people's weekly grocery budget. Ladies, he smiles, but his eyes are calculating. Susan, would you mind giving me a moment with my wife? My mother stands, her reluctance visible in every movement. Actually, I need to discuss something with Taylor's doctor about her discharge plans. Oh, that's all arranged, Ryan says smoothly. I've already spoken with Dr. Chin. Taylor's coming home with me tomorrow. I don't think that's wise, my mother starts, but Ryan cuts her off. With all due respect, Susan, she's my wife. Our home is where she belongs. The tension in the room thickens until I can barely breathe. I watch my mother's face, see the moment she decides to pick her battles. We'll discuss this later, she says, squeezing my hand before leaving. Ryan sets the roses beside my bed, then sits in the chair my mother vacated. His smile doesn't waver, but something cold creeps into his eyes. I've been thinking, darling, he says, reaching for my hand. I force myself not to flinch. Maybe this memory loss is an opportunity. A chance to start fresh, without any unfortunate misunderstandings between us. I meet his gaze, wondering how I ever missed the predatory gleam behind his perfect facade. What kind of misunderstandings? His fingers tighten almost imperceptibly around mine. Nothing worth remembering, sweetheart. Nothing at all. The first night back in Ryan's house feels like sleeping in a stranger's tomb. Everything is pristine, staged, perfect, and utterly wrong. I lie awake in our king-sized bed, listening to Ryan's measured breathing beside me, fighting the urge to run. A memory surfaces like a drowning victim breaking water, Ryan's hand around my wrist, his voice soft but menacing. Remember who you belong to, Taylor. The bedroom door creaks open. Carol's silhouette appears, and I close my eyes instantly, maintaining the steady breathing I've perfected during my hospital stay. Ryan, she whispers sharply. Are you awake? The mattress shifts as he sits up. What is it, Mother? The board's getting impatient. Harrison called. If we don't have those documents signed by next week, the whole deal falls apart. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Carol's voice drips with contempt. Because from where I'm standing, you've let this little burden of yours cause nothing but problems. If you'd handled her properly. I pushed her down a flight of stairs, Ryan hisses. What more did you want? My blood turns to ice, but I keep my breathing steady, fighting against the tremor threatening to betray me. And yet she's still here, Carol says. Still causing problems. We need that inheritance, Ryan. The company won't survive without it. Give me time. She's vulnerable now. Confused. We can use that. Time? Carol laughs softly. The way you used the time before? Letting her run to mommy and daddy with her suspicions? No. We do this my way now. Their voices move toward the door. I crack my eyes open just enough to see Carol press something into Ryan's hand, a small bottle that catches the moonlight. 2 drops in her evening tea, Carol murmurs. It'll make her compliant. More susceptible to suggestion. We'll have her signature by the end of the week. The door closes behind them. I wait 5 minutes, counting each second, before slipping out of bed. My hands shake as I retrieve my phone from its charging station. In the bathroom, I turn on the shower to mask any sound and dial my mother's number. Taylor? She answers on the first ring, voice alert despite the late hour. What's wrong? Mom, I whisper, I remember how I fell. My voice breaks. Ryan pushed me. Silence stretches between us, then, get out of there. Now. I can't. They're planning something. They have drugs. I stop, hearing footsteps in the hallway. Taylor? Ryan's voice carries through the door. Everything all right, darling? Just feeling a bit sick, I call back, forcing brightness into my tone. Must be the new medication. Want me to come in? No. I say too quickly, then softer, no, I'm fine. Go back to bed. To my mother, I whisper, I have to go. But Mom? My inheritance, it was never about me, was it? It was always about the money. We'll fix this, she promises. Just play along for now. Your father and I will. The bathroom door handle turns. I end the call and flush the toilet just as Ryan enters, his concerned husband mask firmly in place. Poor darling, he says, reaching for me. Let me make you some tea. I let him pull me close, suppressing a shudder as his arms wrap around me. Over his shoulder, I catch my reflection in the mirror, pale, scared, but something else too. Something harder. Tea would be lovely, I say, meeting my own eyes in the glass. Just like old times, right? Right, he agrees, pressing a kiss to my temple that feels like a brand. Everything will be back to normal soon. You'll see. I follow him downstairs to the kitchen, watching as he fills the kettle, pulls out cups, reaches for the tea bags. His movements are smooth, practiced, perfect, just like everything else about him. Just like the lies he's built our life upon. I think about the bottle Carol gave him, about the inheritance they're so desperate to steal, about the stairs they pushed me down. And as I watch my husband prepare to drug me into submission, something crystallizes in my chest, hard and sharp and certain. They want normal? I'll give them normal. Right up until the moment I destroy them both. I've gotten good at pretending to drink the tea. 3 nights of carefully emptying cups into potted plants while Ryan watches with those calculating eyes. 3 nights of playing docile and confused while collecting evidence on my phone. The headaches started yesterday. Not from the fall, these feel different. Like memories trying to break through concrete. Taylor? Jenna's voice pulls me back to the present. We're sitting in a corner booth at Murphy's Diner, far from Ryan's usual haunts. You zoned out again. Sorry. I rub my temples. The memories. They're coming back in pieces. Like shards of glass. She slides her phone across the table, face grim. Speaking of pieces, look what I found in your old email account. The screen shows an email I apparently sent her 3 months ago. If anything happens to me, check the blue box in my parents' attic. And whatever you do, don't trust Ryan's financial reports. My hands start shaking. I knew. Before the accident, I knew something was wrong. There's more. Jenna leans forward, lowering her voice. I did some digging at the office. Ryan's company is hemorrhaging money. They're on the verge of collapse. A flash of memory hits me, Ryan throwing a crystal tumbler against the wall, screaming about investors pulling out. The sound of breaking glass. The fear in my chest. My inheritance would save them, I whisper. Taylor. A sharp voice cuts through the diner. Carol Mitchell stands at our table, her surprise visit feeling anything but accidental. What a lovely coincidence. Jenna's hand finds mine under the table, squeezing once before letting go. Carol. I force a smile. I was just having lunch with an old friend, I see. Her eyes cut to Jenna like scissors through paper. Ryan mentioned you've been having trouble sleeping. Shouldn't you be resting at home? The threat in her voice is subtle but clear. Actually, Jenna stands, gathering her things. Taylor and I were just finishing up. But before I go, she pulls something from her bag, a small blue box. My breath catches. I found this while cleaning out my closet. Thought you might want it back. Carol's perfectly composed face twitches as I take the box. How thoughtful. Taylor, dear, let me drive you home. I can manage. I insist. In Carol's luxury sedan, the silence feels like a noose tightening. She takes a turn that definitely isn't toward home. Where are we going? To see Ryan at the office. Her manicured fingers drum the steering wheel. He's quite concerned about your wandering. Another memory surfaces, Carol's voice, cold and clear, she knows too much. Handle it, Ryan. My phone buzzes. A text from Jenna, copied everything from the box. Your parents are waiting at their lawyer's office. Get there any way you can. Actually, I say, forcing my voice to stay steady, I'm not feeling well. Could you pull over? Don't be difficult, Taylor. We both know how that ends. The headache spikes. And suddenly I remember everything about the night of my accident. Ryan's rage when he found the financial documents I'd discovered. Carol's calm voice on the phone, telling him what needed to be done. The push that sent me tumbling down the stairs. At the next red light, I make my decision. Without warning, I throw open the door and run. Carol's outraged scream follows me as I dart through traffic, horns blaring around me. I hear her car door slam, her heels clicking on pavement. But I have one advantage, I remember this neighborhood now. I remember everything. Including the shortcuts through the alley that will lead me to safety. To justice. To revenge. My phone buzzes again as I run, Ryan this time, where are you? Come home now. I type back 3 words that will start the war, I remember everything. Then I turn off my phone and keep running, the blue box clutched to my chest like a shield, my memories finally sharp enough to be weapons. The law office feels like a fortress, but even fortresses can be breached. My father paces, while my mother and Jenna hover near the window, watching for any sign of Ryan or Carol. The contents of the blue box are spread across the mahogany conference table, financial records, threatening notes. Photos of bruises I'd documented in secret. They'll be here soon, my father says, checking his phone again. The police are on standby. My hands won't stop shaking as I sign the restraining order. The pen feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Taylor. Jenna's voice turns sharp. Car pulling up. It's them. Through the third-floor window, I watch Ryan emerge from his Mercedes, Carol right behind him. Even from here, I can see the rage in his movements. The way he straightens his tie, a gesture I now remember, means he's barely containing his violence. My phone lights up with his call. I answer on speaker. Where's my wife? His voice is silk over steel. Safe from you. A pause. Taylor, darling, you're confused. The accident wasn't an accident. My voice doesn't shake. Neither was the drugged tea, or the missing financial documents, or the convenient timing of my grandmother's inheritance. Think very carefully about what you're doing. Carol's voice cuts in. About what you have to lose. What I had to lose. I laugh, and it sounds foreign even to me. Like the baby I lost when Ryan pushed me down those stairs. The room goes silent. My mother's hand flies to her mouth. I hadn't told them that part yet. The memory had only surfaced this morning, sharp as broken glass. I was going to tell you that night, I continue, each word a weapon. About the baby. About the embezzlement I'd discovered. About everything. Taylor, Ryan's voice turns gentle, reasonable, his most dangerous tone. Come home. We can talk about this. Like we talked about the missing investor funds? Or how about Carol's gambling debts that you've been covering up? A sharp intake of breath from Carol. You little. Everything's documented, I cut her off. Every threat, every bruise, every missing dollar. The police have copies. The board members have copies. The press has copies. Through the window, I watch Ryan's facade crack. He slams his fist against his car hood, making Carol jump. You're bluffing, he snarls. Check your email. I hear the notification ping through the phone. Watch him pull out his phone, his face draining of color as he scrolls through the evidence I've spent 3 days compiling. You can't. I already did. I move closer to the window, letting them see me. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Ryan. Because now? Now I'm going to destroy you both. You stupid girl, Carol hisses. You have no idea what we're capable of. Actually, I do. That's why I recorded this conversation too. Police sirens wail in the distance, growing closer. Ryan's head snaps up, his eyes meeting mine through the glass. For the first time, I see fear there. Taylor, he tries one last time, everything I did for us. No. I press my hand against the cold window. Everything you did for yourself. And now you're going to pay for it. I end the call as police cars surround them. Watch as officers approach, weapons drawn. Watch as Ryan's perfect facade crumbles completely when the handcuffs click around his wrists. It's not over, my father warns, placing a hand on my shoulder. They'll fight back. Let them. I turn away from the window as Ryan and Carol are led to separate patrol cars. I'm not afraid anymore. But later, alone in the office bathroom, I stare at my reflection and let myself shake apart for exactly 1 minute. Because this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice, for me, for my unborn child, for every person they've ever hurt. And justice, I'm learning, is a much colder companion than revenge. When I emerge, my hands have stopped shaking. There's work to be done, statements to give, a life to reclaim. But first, I have to face the hardest part. Living with the person I'm becoming. The bail hearing feels like a twisted reunion. Ryan sits across the courtroom, immaculate in his designer suit, while Carol perches in the gallery like a vulture in Chanel. Their lawyers have spent 2 hours spinning tales of my mental instability, my confusion after the accident, my vindictive nature. I grip the wooden barrier until my knuckles turn white, watching the judge review the evidence. My evidence. The recordings, the photos, the financial documents that took 3 days to compile. Your Honor, Ryan's lawyer drones, these allegations are clearly the product of my client's wife's traumatic brain injury. The recordings could easily be manipulated. The recordings, Ryan interrupts, standing suddenly, aren't the issue here. His eyes lock onto mine. Taylor, darling, I forgive you. Come home. We can fix this. The gallery erupts in whispers. My lawyer starts to object, but Ryan keeps talking, his voice hitting that perfect note of concerned husband that used to make me doubt my own sanity. You're sick, sweetheart. Confused. Remember how happy we were? Remember our plans for a family? The baby. My hand instinctively moves to my stomach, and I see his eyes track the movement. A cruel smile flickers across his face, gone so fast nobody else could have caught it. Order, the judge demands, but Ryan's already achieved his goal. I feel the room's energy shift, see the doubt creeping into people's expressions. That's when Carol makes her move. Your Honor, she rises, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, as a mother. I beg you to consider getting my daughter-in-law the help she needs. The gambling debts she's trying to hide, the dangerous people she's involved with. What? I stand so fast my chair scrapes back. That's not. We have proof, Carol continues, nodding to her lawyer, who produces a thick folder. Bank statements, loan documents, threats from collectors. We were trying to protect her. The judge accepts the folder, and I watch my carefully constructed case begin to crumble. Because the documents look real. The signatures look like mine. The dates align perfectly with gaps in my memory. Your Honor, my lawyer starts, but I barely hear him. Because I'm watching Ryan's face, seeing the satisfaction in his eyes, and suddenly I understand. They planned this. They knew I'd fight back, knew I'd gather evidence. They let me think I was winning. Furthermore, Carol's lawyer adds, we have witnesses who'll testify to Mrs. Mitchell's erratic behavior before the accident. Her paranoid accusations, her violent outbursts. No, I whisper, but my voice sounds weak even to me. The room starts to spin. That's not. I never. Taylor? Jenna's voice comes from somewhere behind me, concerned. But I can't focus. Can't breathe. Because Ryan's standing again, moving toward me with that perfect mask of concern. Sweetheart, he says softly, reaching for me. Let me help you. I stumble back, hitting the gallery railing. Don't touch me. Mrs. Mitchell, the judge's voice cuts through my panic. Given this new evidence, I'm inclined to grant bail. However, I'm also ordering a psychiatric evaluation. They're lying, I say, but my voice shakes. They're the ones who, the baby, he pushed. The miscarriage was tragic, Ryan interrupts smoothly, but you can't keep blaming me for an accident. Let me take you home. We can get through this together. The room blurs. I see Carol's satisfied smile, see the judge's sympathetic look, see my carefully constructed revenge falling apart. Because they're better at this game than I am. They always were. Recess, the judge announces, 1 hour. I flee the courtroom, ignoring Jenna's calls, my parents' concerned voices. In the bathroom, I splash water on my face and stare at my reflection. The woman looking back seems fragile, broken, exactly how they want me to appear. My phone buzzes, an unknown number. The text contains a single image, me, unconscious at the bottom of those stairs, and a message. Ready to play nice, darling? Or should we show everyone what really happened that night? The envelope arrives at my parents' house 3 days after the bail hearing. No return address, just my name in careful cursive I recognize as Carol's. Inside, I find a letter that makes my hands shake. Dearest Carol, it begins, in unfamiliar handwriting. I know you'll never forgive me for exposing Richard's embezzlement scheme. But watching my brother destroy himself, and you, was more than I could bear. The letter continues, dated 15 years ago, signed by Carol's estranged sister. It details a familiar pattern: financial fraud, covered-up crimes, a wife who knew too much. My phone rings. Carol. Interesting reading? Her voice is ice. I wondered where that letter had disappeared to. History repeats itself, doesn't it? I say. You watched your husband destroy himself, so you taught Ryan to be smarter about it. Better at covering his tracks. Come to the house, she says. Now. Alone. Or those photos from the stairs go public. I arrive to find Carol alone in her pristine living room, Ryan's childhood photos watching from every wall. She holds a tumbler of scotch, her hand steady. Your sister tried to save you, I say, holding up the letter. Just like I tried to save Ryan from you. Save him? She laughs. I made him strong. Unlike his father, Ryan understands the cost of power. The cost? My voice rises. Like my baby? Like my sanity? Please. She waves dismissively. That pregnancy was inconvenient. You were becoming difficult. Like Richard's first wife. The pieces click together. What happened to her? Tragic accident. Carol's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Stairs can be so treacherous. My phone buzzes in my pocket, the signal. I step closer, letting her see the rage in my eyes. You're a monster. I'm a survivor. She stands, moving to the bar cart. Unlike you. You sure about that? She turns, and I see the exact moment she notices the red light blinking on the brooch Jenna helped me plant yesterday. Her hand jerks, spilling scotch. You. Me. I pull out my phone, playing back her confession. Along with the police listening outside. And the DA who's very interested in reopening the investigation into Richard's first wife's death. The door bursts open. Ryan charges in, face contorted. Mother! They're searching the offshore accounts. He freezes, seeing me. Seeing the officers following him. It's over, I say quietly. You bitch! He lunges for me, but the police are faster. As they wrestle him down, Carol moves with surprising speed, grabbing something from the bar cart. If I'm going down, she snarls, raising the small revolver, you're coming with me. 3 things happen simultaneously. Ryan shouts, Mother, no. I dive left, and a shot rings out. Pain blazes across my arm as I hit the ground. Through the chaos, I hear Carol's hysterical laughter. Like mother, like son, she says as officers disarm her. We both married beneath us. I stand, pressing a hand to my grazed arm, and walk to where Ryan is pinned, handcuffed. You know what the difference is between me and Richard's first wife? I say to Carol. I survived. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who you both are. Taylor, Ryan pleads, his facade finally cracking. Don't do this. I love. Save it for your cellmate. As they're led away, Carol turns back. We're the same, you and I. Survivors. No, I say, touching my wounded arm. I'm nothing like you. Because I'm going to survive with my soul intact. Outside, emergency lights paint the neighborhood in red and blue. My parents and Jenna wait by the cars, fear turning to relief when they see me walking out. It's done, I tell them, watching the patrol cars pull away. It's finally done. But even as I say it, I know it's not entirely true. Because surviving is just the beginning. The real challenge will be learning to live again. The courtroom empties slowly after the verdict, but I stay seated, watching Ryan and Carol being led away in handcuffs. Their perfect facades have finally cracked, Ryan's designer suit wrinkled, Carol's makeup smeared from tears of rage rather than sorrow. Quite a performance, Jenna says beside me, nodding toward Carol's dramatic exit. Think she planned those tears? Everything's a performance with them. I touch the scar on my arm, still pink from Carol's bullet. Was. Everything was a performance. My mother squeezes my shoulder. Ready to go home? Home. The word doesn't hurt anymore. I've reclaimed it, along with my grandmother's inheritance and my sense of self. But there's one last thing I need to do. I'll meet you there, I tell them. There's something I have to handle first. The Mitchell mansion looks different now, smaller, somehow. The realtor's sign in the front yard announces an estate sale this weekend. Everything must go. I used my key one last time, walking through rooms that once felt like a prison. In Carol's study, I find what I'm looking for, a leather-bound journal, hidden behind a false panel I discovered while cataloging evidence. The first entry is dated 25 years ago. Richard suspects nothing. The accident was ruled natural causes. Now to ensure Ryan understands what real strength requires. I read through pages of calculated manipulation, watching Carol shape her son into a weapon, just as her husband had shaped her. The last entry is from the night before my accident. Taylor knows too much. Ryan hesitates. Perhaps I was wrong about his strength. No matter. What my son won't do, I will. Some weeds need to be pulled by hand. My phone buzzes, a news alert. Ryan's company has filed for bankruptcy. Their investors are fleeing, their reputation in tatters. Carol's carefully constructed empire is crumbling. I place the journal in my bag, next to the divorce papers Ryan finally signed. Evidence of generational abuse, of calculated cruelty, proof that monsters are made, not born. Outside, a familiar car idles by the curb. I tense until I recognize Carol's sister, Elizabeth, behind the wheel. I got your message, she says as I approach. Did you find it? I hand her the journal. You were right about everything. She touches the leather cover, her hands trembling slightly. I tried to save her once. Failed miserably. You tried to save me too, sending that letter. Thank you. Elizabeth smiles sadly. Perhaps the cycle ends here. At home, my real home, my mother waits on the porch. She watches me climb the steps, her eyes finding the empty ring finger where my wedding band used to sit. You know what's strange? I say, sitting beside her. Part of me pities them. That's because you're nothing like them, sweetheart. She takes my hand. Your capacity for compassion survived. That's your victory. Through the window, I see my father and Jenna setting the dinner table, their movements comfortable, familiar. No performances, no hidden agendas. I kept wondering if revenge would make me like them, I admit. If justice and vengeance were really just different words for the same thing. And? I think about Carol's journal, about the choices that shaped 3 generations of abuse. About my own choice to expose rather than destroy, to seek justice rather than mere revenge. I think the difference is in what you do after, I say finally. They wanted power. I just wanted truth. My phone buzzes again, another news alert. Carol's attempted suicide in custody. Failed, but barely. Her final performance. I turn off my phone, leaving the ghosts of the Mitchell family behind. Inside, dinner waits. Real people, real love, real life. But as I cross the threshold, I catch my reflection in the window glass. For a split second, I see something of Carol in my eyes, that steel, that determination. The difference is, I choose what to do with it. And I choose to live.